right, family. Welcome to the JohnnyCast, episode number 17. It's going to be a good one. Now, before I start this podcast, I'm going to take a sip of my Stella Artois. I'm getting a little buzz. I'm getting buzzed up. I'm getting a little. I'm taking the edge off for this podcast because why not? Okay, why not? Episode 17, if you're noticing, another new studio, another new backdrop. I was in Montreal last week, so we had the hotel room backdrop. Prior to that, the last month or two, I've been doing the couch with the nice wall in the background, little vibe situation. No more. We're rocking with a new studio. If you're watching on YouTube, first of all, hit that subscribe button. Why don't you hit the like button as well? And if you can comment, I'd appreciate it. It's good for the algorithm. I figured out the algorithm on TikTok. I figured it out. On YouTube, not so much. So if you could help me out, I'd much appreciate that. And I want to thank anyone who's watching this video. The support I've received from my friends and family over the especially last 2 months, has been really awesome. I genuinely mean that. If you're one of those people, you know who you are. So if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on podcasts, whether on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it's fine. But if you're watching on YouTube, there's some spackle on the walls. I might edit it out, but if I don't, you're going to see some spackle on the walls. We got an empty room, relatively, with wood floors, echoing, high ceiling. So hopefully the audio comes out well. But this is going to be a good podcast, okay? And I'm going to tell you why in a second. Let me take a sip of this little champagne of beers, even though it's not a Miller High Life. Woo! That was gross. Give me a second. Oh, yeah. So, on this podcast, I'm going to get to a bunch of different things. I want to recap my Montreal weekend, which was an abject disaster. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I cannot believe how bad this weekend was for what it should have been, or at least what we thought it could have been, okay? Now, it still had its moments, okay? It still had one of the most memorable moments of my life. I really mean this. I truly mean it. I got emotional. I'm going to tell you about it in a little bit. But we got that. We got the Gilgo Killer, who I have a very, very close hand to. Because, believe it or not, Johnny grew up in a little town, and by a little town, I mean a big town. When I made the 7th grade baseball team, it was a big deal, because there's a big pool of kids. I grew up 7 minutes away, walking from the Gilgo Killer, Massapequa, New York. Massapequa Park, New York, to be specific, okay? And so we're going to talk about that. We got some other observations I've made over the last week or so. I think the last podcast, like I said, was in Montreal, was I think Thursday night. So yeah, it's been about 11 days, or not 11 days, what am I talking about? 9 days, and also went to a wedding yesterday in New Jersey for the beautiful couple, Anthony Trito and Nicole. It was Anthony and Nicole Trito, I should say, now that they're both under the same last name. I realized that I'm the last person in my family to now, once I get married, I'm the only person who can give the Trito name to someone else in my whole family. It's exciting. It's very exciting. It's going to be for a while, though, but this is the thing. Before I get famous, okay, I need to meet the girl of my dreams because I'm going to tell you why. Okay, this like hanging out bullshit is over. I'm 28 now. It might go on for a little bit more, maybe a year or two more, where I'm just kind of like going out and having a fun time. But I got to get serious at some point because I need to meet this person before before I become A-list, before I become a big deal in not only the podcast game, but the social media game, the media game, and all of pop culture, really, because I got a lot to offer the world, all right? So I can't have Maya Jama, as Drake would say, as the Drizzy, as the Six God would say. I can't have a Arabic thing like Maya Jama coming through when I'm already successful, okay? And then I don't know if she's in it for the right reasons. I need someone like what's his name? Help me out, audience. Help me out. Who is the guy from Wolf of Wall Street? Jordan Belfort. I need someone like Jordan Belfort's first wife, not Margot Robbie, the first wife, who's with him while they're on food stamps, but she believes, and then bang, they get fucking loaded. All right, that's what I need. So let's get to Montreal. So we left off last time. It was a Thursday night. I had experienced a nice couple days in Montreal. Some good food spots, relaxing. I worked from the hotel. Just an overall relaxing, good experience, and added to my idea that Montreal is just awesome. And then the plan was on Friday, my friends were going to get there, one at 8 a.m., two at 12 p.m., and then I think two at 2 p.m. To my chagrin, to all of our chagrins, the flights got canceled or delayed. Okay, the airlines have been a complete, again, disaster on brand with the whole weekend. and I'm going to get to that later. But so now they're getting delayed. We don't know if it's going to happen, where they're going to get there on time. And then finally, like, everyone winds up showing up, except for one of my friends. He comes later. And our plans for the Friday was we were going to get a nice dinner. We had nothing planned, really, besides we had a nice dinner at this place called Joe Beef. Let me tell you about Joe Beef in a second. But we were going to go there, have a nice dinner. We had heard great things. My friend did a lot of research. Shout out to Mike. He did a good job. And then after that, we were going to get a table at a club. We should have called the table on the club in advance. But to be honest with you, in any city I've ever been to, specifically New York City, but every city, if you don't have a table like prior, you fucking walk up to the club. You go, hey, listen, I got X amount of people. I'm throwing down X, and if you have an availability, if you have an opening, let me know. We're going to get to that also in a second, how mind-blowing this was. It was just crazy. So anyway, everyone gets there. We wind up going before that dinner to a speakeasy, which I liked a lot. Good drinks, good cocktails. And then we show up to Joe Beef. Okay. Now, this isn't anyone's fault, but Joe Beef in Montreal was just not what it was about, for me at least, okay? They had me eating, this menu was like I don't even know the right word, like it was like a delicacy menu, okay? If you've ever eaten at a delicacy restaurant, I just want to eat food, like that's like food, okay? I don't want to eat like escargot on the full shell, okay? The first thing they bring out is snails, which I had never eaten before, and I was already leery to eat them. They bring these snails out, and they're on a full shell. Like it looks like snails. It looks like I went in my backyard and I picked out from the dirt a snail, and it was cooked. And so even the people at the table who were talking up escargot were like at the same time being like, wait a second, like I don't know how I feel about this, but they did it anyway. You couldn't catch me dead eating that. On the menu was horse meat tartare. Horse meat. I love horses, okay? I love horses a lot. They're majestic. They're beautiful. They're strong. They have grace to them, okay? I don't want to eat a fucking horse ever. It's like eating a dog. Why would I eat a horse? And I understand it's a delicacy in Canada. No. Get out of there. I don't even want to. If I ate that horse meat tartare, I'd have to get up and leave that restaurant. I would have had to have, I don't even know. I would have had to have said a couple prayers after I did. It just would have been a disaster. So horse meat tartare, escargot in the full shell. The octopus was good, but also Johnny feels a type of way about eating octopus now after I watched that documentary on Netflix where it was like octopuses are like octopi are the most intelligent species really in the water, and they're like geniuses and they have like love and stuff. So I don't know. You can't think like this because then you can't eat anything, and I get that. But either way, Joe Beef, to me at least, was a flop, and it was a hefty bill. So that was the first thing. Now it's night on the town, so we're getting excited. We're about to go to a club. The one thing about Montreal is that I really mean this, is that like every girl you pass is gorgeous. And truly, the vibes there are immaculate, and the women are just beautiful. So we're thinking of ourselves like, this is going to be a great time. We passed the first club, can't get in. And by can't get in, I don't mean like we're going just to, can we get in with like 5? No. We're looking to get a table. No tables available, apparently. This goes on for like 6 different clubs. All these like smoking hot girls are like waiting outside or getting in. So we're like, all right, you know what? The clubs weren't in the cards. It's a shame. We won't be able to experience that, but let's just go to a bar. This is a Friday night at like 10 p.m. or maybe a little later, like 11 p.m. There wasn't a single bar to go into in the entire area, at least that we were in Montreal, which is Old Port as well as like semi-downtown. There was not a single bar to go to have a couple beers, except for one bar. So like St. Paul's Brewery, I don't even know what it was called. And it was a weird vibe in there. Okay, it was a weird vibe. I felt like I was going to get mugged in there. People were playing pool, but like it was dirty pool. The floors were like, I don't know. It was just not a nice spot. So the point is that Friday was chalked up. Now, shout out to my friend Ross because he saved the night. We're walking back like really upset. And we're just like, wow, I can't believe we like blew it. This is the Friday night we're going to spend in Montreal after we spent this money on the flight and the hotel or the Airbnb, whatever. And then Ross comes in with basically saying, hey, listen, we have Drake tomorrow. And we were going to only go to a club either, we were going to go Friday and we were going to not go to the club after Drake. So now we'll just go to the club after Drake and we'll just load up the Saturday. So we won't miss anything. We'll just have to kind of squeeze everything in. So let's look forward to a great Saturday. We're going to day drink at some bars. We're going to go to Drake, go to the bar, or go to the club, then maybe the strip clubs after, and experience Montreal for what it is. Okay. So now we wake up on Saturday, and it's maybe 11:30 a.m. We're all doing our thing, and we decide at about maybe 1:30 p.m., all right, we have 3 hours. Let's go day drink. Let's go to a bar somewhere in the city. It could be anywhere. We'll Uber. It doesn't matter. Somewhere where there's a lot of young people like our age that we can just stand around and drink, get some beers, have a nice vibe, and get a little day drunk. It was a beautiful day. It was like an 85 degree, or not 85, it was like 80 degrees, not that much humidity. It was just a nice day. This goes on for an hour and a half. We can't find a fucking bar in this whole city that you could drink at. We walk into this one bar, which apparently is the number one like kids bar in the whole city, which is called the Burgundy Lion. We walk in, there's flies everywhere, and it's just families and old people eating lunch. And I turn to the waitress or the hostess, whatever, and I'm like, hey, is there like somewhere we can go where like a lot of people are at? And everyone's speaking French, so you got to kind of tiptoe. Also, the first time I was in Montreal, no one gave me attitude. And the weekend or the weekdays prior to this weekend that I was there, also no one gave me attitude. Maybe this is because I was by myself. But once I was in a group of people who were all from New York, and we were not being rude, I promise you, everyone was giving us attitude. Like it was just, like clockwork. Everyone was giving us attitude. So this girl's giving us attitude already, and I go, hey, listen, like, is there any way where we can go? And I'm being so nice. I'm like, where we could like stand around, have a couple beers, like, girl, everyone's there, like we're right. And she fundamentally didn't understand the question, genuinely. She goes, yeah, right here. And I'm looking around, and I go like, yeah, no, like an actual, like a bar, like, right? And she's like, yeah, of course, like this is the number one spot or whatever she said. And I looked and behind her, and I go, yeah, like there's a kid in a high chair and an 85-year-old couple eating soup. Like, this isn't it. Hey, babe, this isn't it, all right? She's like, yeah, I don't know. So now I'm thinking to myself, like, what is going on in this city? So now we have to chalk up the Saturday day. So now I'm getting nervous because I'm like, all right, we chalked up Friday, all of it, and now we have to chalk up Saturday day. But we go, okay, let's just take a deep breath, count down from 10. We're about to see Drake for at least me. I've never seen him before. I'm so excited. We have GA, so we're going to be close, hopefully. And so I'm like, all right, we'll go back. We'll get something to eat quick. We'll get ready, and then we'll go to the concert. So we do exactly that. We walk to the concert, and by the way, I mentioned this like a while ago, maybe like episode 8. I'm just taking a guess here. I didn't pride myself on this, but I always noticed that when I was a kid, and even like up until 3 years ago, pretty much, I never would sweat heavily. Sure, if I was playing like a pickup basketball game or soccer game in the dead of summer for like hours, I'd be really sweaty. Or if I was like whatever, just like in a serious athletic event, sure. But even if I like lifted at the gym, or I played like a casual pickup basketball game, or I was in a hot room, or I had to rush to get to a train, whatever the case may be, I never would sweat really. And it was awesome. And I would always hear people talking about like their shoes would sweat, like their feet would sweat, their shirts would be ruined, they'd have to pat their face off and all this stuff. And I never would get it. Their upper lip, their hands, they're going like this to say hi to me. And then 2 years ago, when I turned like 26, I sweat so much now, it sucks. It's the worst. So we're walking to this Drake concert in heat, and I'm wearing a t-shirt and jeans, which, yeah, it's not the best thing to wear in the heat, but it's not like anything crazy. And I am sweating so much. It reminded me when I used to play pickup soccer at Burns Park in Massapequa, about 10 minutes away from the Gilgo Killer. It reminded me of that because I used to get like so sweaty where like you feel like you just got out of a pool, right? This is how I feel on the way to this fucking Drake concert. So I'm like trying to pat my face off. I feel like the beads of sweat going down my back. And this goes on everywhere. From, like I said, if I'm trying to get a train, from commute, it's just always a mess in the summer or anytime. So is this microphone okay? So anyway, so we finally get to the Drake concert, and the first thing we do is see that the merch lines are nuts. Now, Drizzy killed the merch. I believe that. I was going to wear the shirt that I bought from the concert. I'll put a picture of it up right here. I didn't want to do that because I don't want to, on the clips on TikTok, rub anyone the wrong way. And I feel like if I'm wearing a Drake shirt, it's kind of a softy move, right? So I always preach trying to be yourself, right? But, I mean, let's make a business decision here, okay? So we get to the Drake concert, and it's everything I could have imagined and then some. And I really mean this. So not to go crazy again like I did last episode, but Drake truly means a lot to me, okay? He does. 7th grade on, I've been a diehard Drake fan through, there was a moment in time for a long time until I would say maybe 2015 where people didn't like Drake and they would like make fun of Drake fans and they would like just talk about how soft he is and how like this and that, and it wasn't like he wasn't the guy he is today, just the behemoth he is today. I was gonna say the conglomerate, that makes no sense, but the juggernaut that he is today, that's the best word to use. Okay, so yeah, I've just been through everything in my life for the most part. Think about it. You're in 7th grade. How old are you? You're like 12. You're maybe conscious at like 7. So minus 5 years, and 5 like early years, my entire life has been narrated by this guy, right? All my moments, I think of songs of his and all this stuff. So to see him again before he's out of his prime, and by this rate, he's never going to be out of his prime because, he just dropped that freestyle with Central C. That's one of the best verses I've ever heard him rap, seriously. So we get to the arena, and I'm so excited, and we wind up going down to the actual floor. And this was a move to go to Montreal because I can just imagine that, first of all, I'm seeing people from New York at like the Drake concert that was in Brooklyn last week, and they're in the nosebleeds. I'm sure they paid a fortune for it. My boy, who like loves Drake as well, he paid a pretty penny for it, and he wasn't even GA either. He was like high 100 section, which are good seats, but like, so for us to be on the floor and for the floor to not be that big was just crazy. This would have never happened in New York. And so, by the way, to just go back for a second, to make that Friday worse, we finally got to this small bar for like 5 minutes before it shut down, and this girl we met from Albany was there, and I was like doing my own thing somewhere else, and then I get back, we're about to leave, and my boy comes up to me, he goes, "Yo, you're not going to believe this." And I go, "What?" He goes, "To make this day even worse, I just found out that 21 Savage cannot be in Canada. He's not touring with Drake for this weekend. We're not seeing him." And that was a big deal to me also because I love 21. And I was like, are you joking? Like this is just a disaster weekend from hell. And we found out that J. Cole was subbing in, which for I think most of the populace, especially people who like don't really care that much or like listen that much, they're like, "Oh my God, J. Cole, he's a superstar. We got so lucky." But me and the 3 people specifically that I was with that like really are into this shit all don't really like J. Cole. I used to love J. Cole, okay? Especially like old stuff like the warm-up I used to love when I was growing up. And then, not Illuminati, what's it called? Born Sinner, when I was a senior in high school. I was driving my car. I burned it on a disc, and I listen to it all the time. I think Illuminati is one of the best intro tracks of really, I think it's one of the best intro tracks ever. It's up there with Tuscan Leather by Drake. It's up there with Can't Knock the Hustle, Jay-Z. It's up there with a lot of unbelievable intro tracks. But and there's a million other ones that I'm just forgetting because I'm being put on the spot here. But anyway, so now I'm like pit in my stomach. We go to the show and we're going like maybe J. Cole won't be there on Saturday because Friday's show he was there, and maybe someone else will be there and we'll get lucky, or even if he's there, it is what it is. So now we're at GA, we're on the floor, and we find out that the way Drake enters each concert is through the stands, and he comes down on the floor. And so we like strategically picked one corner, and we were like, if we get lucky, we get lucky. And sure enough, we get lucky. And I'm going to put a video up right now. I was within touching distance of Drake, and I've never been starstruck in my life. I really mean that. And I've met a lot of celebrities between athletes because of Penn State. I have a very strong degree of separation between Saquon Barkley, for example. I've hung out with him many a time. One of my really good friends from college is genuinely one of his best friends. So between Saquon, Trace McSorley, all those guys, going to Montauk the last 5 years and not only meeting but hanging out with guys like Scott Disick, and I was with Dave Portnoy for a while one of those nights at Bounce when Bounce first opened up on the beach. And Montauk's ruined, by the way, so don't get me started on that. But anyway, a lot of different stars, right? And I'm forgetting a ton, okay? I've never seen someone and be like, whoa, like this person's not real. So as soon as I see him, it's just nuts. And he goes to the stage, and then the concert starts, and we're like within, and I'll put another video up, we're so close to him. And he starts off with Look What You've Done, and then he goes into a couple songs later, Shot For Me, right? And then he plays Jaded, which is one of my favorite songs by Drake, a later song. And I'm not kidding around. I've never Like, you see these, like, loser videos of kids. I just recently saw one of, like, that, like, TikTok, Instagram lifter. Some, like, random, he had, like, a signing, and some random kid, like, who was his age, and he looked like a normal kid, like, met him and started crying hysterical. And it's like, dude, figure your life out. This is another this is another man you're looking up to like this. Like, go get a grip on your life. And obviously I wasn't like that, but he's singing right there. I'm seeing him do his thing. And I swear to God, I get emotional. Not where I'm going to actually cry, but I feel that weird, like, fuzzy feeling. Like, I feel like I'm going to cry. And it felt like the culmination of, like, my life. Like, not in a goal stance for me, because, like, that was just me seeing Drake. It wasn't like, oh, I achieved my goals finally, and look at me, here I am. It wasn't like that. I'm saying it was more of, like, all these years and this person being so influential in my life, not on a decision-making basis, but just being in the background. It's like, I'm a big dog person, and I think dogs, for me, play a bigger role than they do for most people. But either way, I know that there's a notion that, like, a lot of families, the dog is, like, in the background, right? He's always there. And obviously you notice him at certain times. Sometimes you don't. But then when he passes away, you go, like, oh, my God, I don't know what I was missing. Like, this person or this dog was with me my whole life. And I just, like, cherish his being, because that energy and that is genuinely a part of my life. Well, that's how I feel about it's crazy. That's how I feel about Drake. So I got emotional. I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, this person is in front of me right now. And he's playing the songs that I love. And he's going, hell yeah, fuck it right. Like, he's doing all of the shit from when I was a kid. I wish he would have played Miss Me. It's a shame. Because that was, like, to me at least. I mean, Best I Ever Had was his first big hit, clearly. But Miss Me, which was a single off of Thank Me Later, was, like, to me, his, like, coming out party as, like, he's making fucking bangers, dude. He's making bangers, this guy. And then it just hasn't stopped. It's been 15 years since, right? 13 years since, something like that. So that was amazing, okay? And so we saw the concert. I have not a bad word to say. J. Cole came out, and I got to give it to him. He fucking killed that. He spit every bar. Like, there's guys who come up, a lot of guys, and they're just kind of rapping every fifth word off of the recording that's playing in the background off the speakers. Not J. Cole. I think probably the backing vocal was there, but he was, like, rapping every word. It was really cool to see. And then I thought to myself, I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't hate J. Cole. Like, obviously, I had such a connection to him early on because I just love that music. I love his music early on. And then, like, he got way too, like, I'm not going to get into it too much on the podcast, but he got way too, like, political and a little bit, like, racial, and I didn't like it. And, like, for instance, and I just thought his music was kind of boring also. But, like, for instance, he dropped when I was, like, a senior in high school, or a senior in college, or a junior in college. He dropped KOD, which I didn't want to like it. Because, like, I didn't like For Your Eyes Only, and I didn't even like, I liked 2014 Forest Hills Drive, but I wasn't a huge, like, a huge fan of it. But KOD, for some reason, the production on that album and the way he spit, and even the themes, even though I didn't agree with his views, it was just so good that, like, that was an album that just stuck with me. He didn't play anything off of that album. But the point being is that it was just, it was cool to see him. So the concert ends, okay? Now, also to backtrack, just to cover our asses, before the concert started, we knew how hard it was to get a table at a club if we're just going to go there and show up. So we decided, we heard one of the decent clubs, not one of the best clubs, one of the good clubs to go to, I guess, was called La Voûte. And again, when you're at a city that's not yours, you don't know what day is the on day. So maybe, like, it's Fridays at La Voûte and Saturdays are kind of like beat. But so we had this table scheduled, and at the point of the end of the concert, I am so beat, like, between just being out all day, sweating, yelling, being hammered. It was just a lot. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm either down to just go home because we got an early flight tomorrow, or I'm down to just go to the strippy quick and then leave. Like, I didn't need to do this whole charade. But my one friend was really into it, and you know what? It was a good choice because I did have a good I did have a good time. I enjoyed myself. The people there weren't the greatest, and it was expensive also, but it was okay. I mean, nothing to write home about. So, I mean, when you break it down, Friday was a complete wash. Saturday, besides the Drake concert, was just like eh. And then we get to the grand ending of this vacation, which was the reason why this was a debacle. So we get up on Sunday, and actually before I get into this, I want to say two things that I had in my notes that I forgot to mention. So when I was at Joe Beef, when I was at this restaurant, there was like a table of 16 girls that were attractive. And it just reminded me, if you're ever out to dinner with your dad and his boys maybe, or your uncles, maybe your coworkers who are older who are trying to live through you, and there's either an attractive waitress or some attractive girls who are sitting at a table close by, I guarantee this has happened to you a couple times. They'd be like, yo, this waitress is something else, man. She keeps looking over here. She's nice when she comes over to the table. Like, I think she's into you. She keeps looking at you. She keeps smiling at you. You gotta like say something to this girl. You gotta get her number, bro. That group of girls over there on the left, they keep looking over here, dude. Go up to them right now. If this was me, before I got married, when I was a kid like you, when I was a good-looking young kid like you, I would go right up to them, right? And you get their numbers. You go out. Have a good time. I mean, come on now. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, what are we talking about here? I'm not going up to a random group of 6 people who are trying to enjoy their meal and asking for a fucking number. That would have never happened when you did that 80 years ago. It's because like you're living in a dream world. You're living in a fantasy world. The waitress is trying to get tips. She's not into me. I mean, stop it with this stuff. So, I mean, that just reminded me of the Joe Beef because there's 16 girls there, and I'm thinking if I was with someone like that, they'd be like, bro, you got to go over there. It's like, dude, what am I talking about here? So that was that. Also to mention before I get into the Sunday debacle, when I was at the Drake concert, he's coming down into the crowd. I get within a foot reach of him, like I said. I'll put the video up, and he daps someone up in front of me. Now, at the time, I wasn't paying attention because I was like starstruck a little bit. So that happens. A couple days later, I'm looking at my phone. And I realized, like, as I click that video, I'm hearing in the background distinctly, I'm hearing, like, she want to be known. She want to be in my zone. And I'm hearing, like, weirdly on the other side, like, you know how, like, it can play in different headphones. I got my AirPods in. The other side, I'm hearing, like, Prada and Gucci, you don't get together. Yeah, on go mode. And I'm like, and then I notice that the 6th god dapped up Smiley. That's the guy in front of me. Dirty mustache on that guy. He's got to do something about that mustache. But either way, unbelievable. The amount of stars in the building. Montreal Drake. Crazy. So that's what I wanted to talk about before I get to the Sunday debacle. Let's get into that. So Sunday rolls around. I had an 11 a.m. flight, and I had to get up at like 9 a.m. Now, mind you, we were at the club. I got home at like 4 a.m., fell asleep at 5 a.m. probably. I'm blacked out still. I get up, and I wanted to do a nice thing. Like I mentioned in the last podcast, my family loves bagels, specifically my mother. Montreal has the best bagels. So I was going to Uber from my Airbnb to the bagel spot, get hot, fresh bagels. The flight's only an hour long. I've been bragging to my friends for days at this point how the flight's only an hour. One of the parts of my pitch to come to Montreal was that the flight was so short. So I get the bagels. They're piping hot. I put them in my bag. Now, I also didn't realize that, like, hot bagels, they steam. I had my laptop, my microphone. Could have been bad, but thankfully nothing got ruined. But so I'm thinking to myself, like, all right, I'm going to get these bagels. They're hot. They're nice. And I'm going to get to the airport. So that's exactly what I do. I'm going through it in that Uber. I had 125 beats per minute heart rate sitting still in the Uber, okay? Sweating bullets, sweating Tito's, okay? I get to the airport with these piping hot bagels, and I somehow make it through security quickly, and I'm ready to go. 5 minutes in, after security, I get a delayed notification. Now, I had heard the nightmares from my friends prior about getting there, all the delays, and I was like, this can't happen to me. Bang, it happens to me. Delayed till 1 p.m., so I go, you know what? Like, no more hot bagels for mom, but it is what it is. And then guess what? I get hit another 2 minutes later with a cancellation. So now I'm like, yo, like I couldn't fully process the issue because I was pretty drunk still. And I was like, yo, like, this is not a good thing. So I call my boys, and they're like, yeah, like, our flights are later. I think we're chilling still. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I go to the kiosk or whatnot, and they don't have any flights available for Sunday, which was the day it was, or Monday. So I'm like, yo, I'm in trouble. The trains were either canceled or booked. There was no rent-a-cars, okay? So now, like, I'm like, I got to Uber back. So I Ubered, again, from the Airbnb to the bagel place to the fucking airport, go through security, fail, and basically, and then go from the airport now back to the Airbnb. On the Uber back to the Airbnb, I get a call from one of my friends. Their flights get canceled. Two out of the five others gets canceled. 5 others gets canceled. Okay, so now it's just me, my friend Mitch, and my friend Mike. 3 M&Ms, 3 MMM. Okay, we're I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. I'm trying to curse less on this podcast, but we got fucked. So the only option we had was a Monday Greyhound bus, which is something else, the Greyhound bus. In the interim, wasn't the worst thing. My friend Mitch booked a sick hotel, which we kind of chilled at. There was a pool. We got right. I was using Element. Let me tell you about Element electrolytes. Element electrolytes. I was a big Liquid IV guy for a while. And don't get me wrong, I still like it, but it was kind of too sweet. It was 50 calories, expensive, a lot of sugar. And I understand the sugar is like a vehicle for the electrolytes. But Element is a fifth of the calories. It's double the sodium, more potassium, more magnesium. It's cheaper. The flavors are great. The watermelon and raspberry flavors are like a genuine treat to have before my workouts. And if I'm ever hungover, I get like risen from the dead. It's incredible. So I'm a huge Element guy now. Not talking bad about Liquid IV, but it's a no-brainer to me. So yeah, Element was a big theme of recovery during my Montreal trip, especially that Sunday when I was just going through it. And then we've managed to get on that Greyhound bus on Monday. And Greyhound buses are kind of like overblown. I've taken one during college. I feel like everyone's like, oh my God, Greyhound bus, you're going to be sitting next to a drug addict. It's not that bad. It is what it is. We're going on like a double-digit hour trip, though. I think it was like a 10-hour trip from Montreal to Manhattan, and then another hour Uber to Long Island. It was a horrible day. It was a horrible day. It was the horrible ending to a unfortunate, like, disappointing trip. And also, like, has Wi-Fi on planes, trains, or even buses ever worked? They're always advertising it as high-speed Wi-Fi. The entire trip, I'm fighting for my life to get Google to load. It's insane. It should be illegal to advertise that. They're always showing pictures of movies and streaming services. I can't even get on Google with this high-speed Wi-Fi. And then sometimes they're charging you on the plane. They're charging you. I mean, between that and then also this situation with all these flights getting canceled is a disgrace, okay? PSA to all the airlines, fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself, because I'm tired of all my friends getting delayed, canceled, my flights getting delayed and canceled. You just got to worry about, now when you book a trip, you got to price in like a 2-day buffer before and after, just in case something happens with the flight, because it always happens with the flight now. They're understaffed, I guess. It's not just stop making all these flights then. Make the flights harder to get, but make them more reliable. It's just getting really frustrating. So traveling has become just a complete migraine headache. It's just miserable. And so, yeah, that was pretty much, the Greyhound bus was not that bad. I had downloaded prior to getting on the bus 6 episodes of that quarterback documentary on Netflix, which I thought was amazing. You got Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. And it was a good, it wasn't kind of luck on their end. You got the GOAT. You got a guy who is very good, almost like underappreciated, but also clearly doesn't perform when it matters sometimes. And then you got the struggling guy who inevitably, like, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to say it if you don't really know football and you didn't watch the documentary yet, but you want to watch it. But it was very, very entertaining. I found myself watching the quarterback documentary. I found myself liking Mahomes' wife now. She's much more likable than I would have liked to have thought. So I like that documentary. It was the play calling they make. I mean, you just got to think about the lives of these guys. Even Mariota, who's making, he made like $19 million. I was feeling bad for him. You don't got to feel bad for these guys. These guys are making insane amounts of money to do what they do. And granted, it's a hard job. But to go like, oh, boo-hoo, he got beat out for his starting job. Who cares? The guy's making more money than like 99.99999% of the population sees in their lifetime, right? So on this bus, I watched that. One of the stops was at Albany. Albany is the capital of New York, and I don't know who's got to hear this, but it is a shithole, okay? I was in Albany, New York at this Greyhound bus stop. Now, granted, this might not have been in the best area, but this was an area with many buildings around me, and every single building was abandoned, graffitied on, either broken windows or boarded up. It was almost scary even looking at that. It was scary to see like old buildings that are made out of brick that had spray painted over it, like blacksmith and welding, and then clearly that hadn't been like inhabited for 10 years or whatever, 30 years. That is a bad spot. How is that the capital of the state that has the greatest city in the world? Do people believe that anymore? Do people believe that that New York City is the best state in the world, or the best city in the world, excuse me? Because I for sure don't. I got dropped off by the Greyhound into Port Authority. Me and my friend Mike had to Uber back to Long Island. He lives. Actually, I'm not gonna disclose where my friend Mike lives. All right, because that might violate his privacy. Okay, so yeah, we do that, and we're in the Uber. Is there anything worse? We're gonna kick off Is there anything worse podcast? Is there anything worse segment with? Is there anything worse than the stop and go Uber? You're in the Uber. This could be for 5 minutes. This could be for 2 hours. I don't know why you'd be in a 2-hour Uber, but you're getting a stop and go situation like you've never seen before. You're getting nauseous. You might throw up in the car, okay? I've actually talked about this before, but it's true, okay? Maybe you're sleeping in that Uber. Every 3 minutes you get woken up by an abrupt stop, okay? Or maybe, God forbid, his like car safety detector makes a noise and you got to look up and then you're about to crash into the car in front of you. And then now you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic, but the second the car in front of him gives you a little space, he's flooring it and then absolutely screeching on the brakes. There's nothing worse than the stop and go Uber. And I'm going to take a stand against these people. Maybe it's because my Uber rating's bad, because when I get drunk, I talk a lot of shit in the Uber. Not to the Uber driver, but I think I'm a stand-up comedian. That's another thing. I think I'm a stand-up comedian when I get in the Uber, and it's an issue because my Uber rating is now at 4.5. I don't know if that speaks to my bits that I do, or if that speaks to just how annoying and loud I am when I'm drunk. But now, I'm finding it hard to get a regular Uber driver. Every Uber driver I get now either doesn't have hubcaps or is basically getting into a life-altering crash every time I get into the Uber. And I originally thought it was Uber on its own, but now I realize it's Johnny and his antics, and now Uber has punished me, basically. And I apologize. So Uber, if you're hearing this, I want to let you know that I'm a good guy. When I get drunk now, I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to make jokes. I'm not going to try to learn about the Uber driver's life. I'm just going to quietly go to my destination, go from A to B, and be a good guy, and not even ask for the charger or hand sanitizer. I'm not gonna do any of that. All right. So that's. Is there anything worse? Then I get home from the Uber from Manhattan to McDonald's, and this is important to me. Okay, I had nothing to eat. And it was 12 a.m. or 1 a.m., and I was starving, and the only thing that was open basically was McDonald's, and I don't really get McDonald's often. Now, tell me if this makes sense. McDonald's my whole life. Paper cup, plastic lid and straw. I recently went there. They now have a fully plastic cup and lid and a paper straw. First of all, the paper straws suck. I'm sorry. But now you're using more plastic than you were before just to virtue signal that you're doing something good for the environment. I don't want to have to hear how the plastic is now recycled. You're using more net plastic. So to all the morons who think they're doing God's work by drinking out of a paper straw now instead of a plastic straw, just remember, the entire cup used to be paper. Now it's plastic. I mean, we're living in a truly bizarro, backwards Looney Tunes world. I don't know what to say. It's insane. It's really insane. So that's pretty much the entire trip. I get back, I eat at McDonald's, then I have to unpack, which I still haven't done. And I have a debilitating illness where I overpack to a scary extent. Where if I'm going on a 3-day vacation, I will pack 50 t-shirts, 25 pairs of pants, 1,000 underwear and socks, okay? I'm preparing for a flood, God forbid. I'm packing clothes as if I'm gonna run a marathon every day for 3 days. I got clothes to go out with. I got clothes to be comfortable in, just in case it's cold. What if it's hot? I mean, I end up wearing the same outfit most days. I'm wearing maybe 3 pairs of pants the whole 3-day weekend. And then you get home and half your duffel bag is now littered with the dirty clothes. So you feel like you have to wash all the clean clothes. So then it takes forever to unpack. It's a disease. It's genuinely, it's disgusting. It sucks. And I've been doing this to myself forever, but now that I've been traveling more often, it's just been miserable. Finally, the traveling is going to come to a full end, okay? This prior weekend was the last time I'm traveling, besides when I go to Philly, which is like fake traveling, for the rest of the summer. And this has been a brutal summer. This has been a horrible summer. I don't think until this year I've ever experienced a summer like this where the weather is just not nice and the vibes are low. There's usually like a magical feeling in the air. The weather is beautiful. You're going to the beach all the time. Late nights, right? Your friends, your family. It's an amazing time. This year, I don't know if it's the Canadian fires, especially on the East Coast. It's just overcast. It's humid all the time. The vibes are low. I'm honestly becoming a fall person now. I think it's my favorite season. Before we get to the fall, last thing kind of, I guess, adjacent to summer. How useless are sunroofs, right? You got a new car. It comes with a sunroof. You're all excited about it. This thing is closed 99.9% of the time. You even have the shade closed, right? Because the glare is too much. When are you opening this thing? Seriously, when are you going to open it? Because when you open it, it's loud. There's not even a cross breeze, right? The wind is it's just loud. And then, God forbid you leave it open when it rains, you ruin your whole car. So now I open this thing, I got anxiety. Like I'm going to forget to close it. You're going to the dealership. This guy's selling you. Who knows what they're charging you for it too? They throw in, the sun package, right? It comes with better speakers and a sunroof for $20,000 extra. I don't even want the sunroof. They could keep it. I don't want it. But I'm a fall guy now. The vibes are immaculate. The colors on the trees. I mean, the neighborhood looks amazing. Everywhere you drive, it's beautiful. The weather is like 60 degrees. At night, it gets a little chillier, so you're layering up. And fall is the best season for fashion. It's not even close for me. You're wearing some light sweaters, maybe some flannels, nice pair of jeans, boots. Like I said, you're all layered up. A nice Saturday afternoon with the boys, watching some college football at a bar. People are feeling nice. They're ordering pumpkin beers, perhaps a cinnamon rim on there. Dare I say a UFC event on later that night, which just culminates and rolls into an NFL Sunday of degeneracy and gluttony. I mean, there's nothing better than the fall. It doesn't get better than that. I'm a fall guy. I'm a fall fucking guy. So that's enough with the fall. Now, let's talk about Sarku, Japan, okay? If you've ever been to a mall before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is a staple. You're at the food court. Maybe there's a long line at the certain food establishment line you're waiting on. And you see an elderly Asian gentleman in the middle of the food court just talking to people with a little tray. He's got some chicken with a toothpick in it, and he's wearing an apron and maybe one of those funny hats. And you go, you know what? While I'm waiting, why don't I try one of these pieces of chicken? Well, guess what? You try the chicken, and it's out of control. It's good. It's good teriyaki chicken. I don't know if it's the best teriyaki chicken, but it's good. And you go, oh, fuck. I got to get off the line I'm at. I got to get off of Mike's famous cheesesteaks, or I got to get off the soup place. And I got to go get some teriyaki chicken from Sarku, Japan. Now, if you're getting anything else, if you're getting the bento box, if you're getting the, I don't even know what else they got. They got like shrimp. Get out of my face. Seriously. Stop wasting my time with these stupid opinions. You're going to Sarku, Japan. You're getting teriyaki chicken, maybe the teriyaki beef. They load me up with double. Okay, I'm getting fried rice. You can do steamed rice as well. The vegetables are a must. They got that nice bok choy, I think it's called. I don't even know. It's great. Not expensive. You're going there. It feels authentic. It's like hibachi, but in the mall, okay? And then once you get that, when you get to the end of the line, very important. Very important. You got to ask them for a little extra teriyaki, okay? Then you shut the box. It's steaming up. It's a little styrofoam box. You get a napkin. You get a little fork, and you're on your way. And you're on your way, and you walk back through the mall to your car, and you eat that in your car before you go home, okay? Because I'm not eating in the food court. I'm not getting shot. Okay, I'm not eating in the food court. But Sarku, Japan, out of control. Every time I'm in the mall, getting Sarku, Japan, out of control. The second food review, what else do I got? That's right. I got to go one. Jersey Mike's. Now, as a man from an Italian-American neighborhood in the tri-state area, a lot of my friends didn't understand it. They thought it was like Subway, okay? And they were dead wrong, okay? I had some experience because I went to Penn State. I went to school in Pennsylvania. It's the closest thing I had to being home. Now, you're walking in there, you can go hot or cold. Let's start off with cold first, okay? So they got two heroes I like a lot. They got like an Italian hero, and they also have like a turkey and roast beef bacon club, which is awesome. It's phenomenal, honestly. Now, the first request when you walk in there, you get to the line. You go, hey, listen, bud. I don't care if I got to slip you a $5 bill. You're cutting the cold cuts thin because I can't deal with anything else. So as long as the cold cuts are sliced thin, you're on your way. Now, you got to get it Johnny's way, especially on the Italian one, but you got to get it Johnny's way. And they call it Mike's way. No. It's a different one. It's Johnny Action's way. And this is how you're going to get it. Shredded lettuce, tomato, onion. You got to make sure they do a little bit of mayo, not too much. Then you're doing oil and vinegar. And then the key to the Johnny's way that makes the sandwich what it is you got to get the pepper relish and you got to load it up. Load it up with the pepper relish because that pepper relish is crack, okay? Same thing with the club sandwich. I wouldn't go crazy with it. I would just do how they kind of do it. But especially in that Italian sandwich, you got to get it Johnny's way. And then for the hot sandwiches, I'm not going to lie. I don't want to step on any toes here with the Philly people who are experts with the cheesesteaks, but they don't do a bad cheesesteak. I mean, they do a regular one. They do a Chipotle one. They're doing a chicken one. If I'm in the mood for a cheesesteak and I'm in the New York area, it's simple. It's easy. I'll go to Jersey Mike's. So they got a great thing going on, and I mean, I can't give it more of a stamp of approval. If you're one of these people who like thinks you're too good for it, you think it's like a Subway, or you think like this is a neighborhood spot, I can't go and get a fucking cold cut hero. It's convenient and it's good. So shut the fuck up about it. Now, breaking news. Let's change the subject for a second. News had broke over the week. I think it was like last weekend, that the Gilgo Beach, Long Island serial killer murderer gets caught, and I find out that I live 7 minutes. I grew up. My childhood home was 7 minutes from his home. I mean, it's insanity. I was a fast kid. I was a very genetically gifted fast kid, so it probably took me like 5 minutes to get there. But for most people, even if it was 7 minutes, we're talking under a 10-minute walk to a guy who had $500,000 worth of guns in his basement, who strangled multiple hooas and put them in the fucking beach in Gilgo. It's insane. Even more so, his daughter was a customer of my mother's store, okay? My uncle, who's a mailman, has worked that route many times, has delivered mail to this guy Rex's house like a billion times. I can't even believe this. So you got to think to yourself, it's like people talk about Bundy and they talk about like John Wayne Gacy and how it almost seems like they've been romanticized in a way that doesn't seem real and that it never really happened. Obviously it did happen, but I'm saying it was long ago and it was so like built up and all these documentaries. But no, this was 7 minutes from my house. Again, 5 if you're fast. So I gotta just thank my lucky stars. When I was on my way to stickball, ready to dominate, when I was like 12 and I was riding my bike, that 6'6" ogre didn't step in front of my bike and go, "Hey bud, we're going to the sump." So hearing that just made me think about all the things I did when I was a kid and how maybe I unknowingly avoided danger. I mean, you never know. It's insane. And then I was thinking about childhood more broadly. I was thinking about like how there'd be marathons on TV and you'd be so excited when you were watching a marathon on TV to record it with the VHS tape. Not only are VHSs obsolete, so are DVDs, right? Blu-ray, all that stuff that doesn't exist anymore and you just forget about it. Then I was thinking more broadly as well, like, I mentioned this a couple podcasts ago, but when I was a kid, I felt like I was going to Home Depot with my pops every day, it felt like, okay? And it got me thinking, if you're a grown man with a dick and balls and you're choosing Lowe's over Home Depot, you got to reevaluate your whole life, okay? I'd rather eat pizza from Sbarro than go to Lowe's. You're walking in there, white, clean floors. There's no scent of anything in the air. The people who are working there are like arts and crafts teachers who took the day off. Home Depot, you walk in, unfinished floors. There's a scent of freshly cut wood in the air at all times. The guys who work there are like retirees and retired cops who don't want to sit home with their wife all day. So they're slapping on an orange apron and they're getting the fuck to work and they're helping me out and they're doing a good job. So I commend all the workers at Home Depot. I mean, I'd rather be caught trying on a dress like I'm Oscar De La Hoya than go to Lowe's. Big Home Depot guy. Always have been, always will. Maybe it's my childhood that did it, but I'll never switch up. It's like Nike and Adidas. You got to pick a side. You can't be flip-flopping. You got to be consistent, okay? It's like these people who, I mean, don't even get me started. You're walking into a room, you're seeing someone with 7 different logos on. It's like, what are you doing, bro? You got Adidas Ultra Boosts on, Nike mid-calves, New Balance shorts, fucking Under Armour shirt, Russell Athletic, like basketball headband, okay? And I don't even know why they'd be wearing a headband because, like, I mean, come on. But listen, if you're over the age of 14 and you're wearing an NBA-style headband and you're not in the NBA, you got to seek some help. You got to, first of all, understand why you're doing it because that's a big deal. So you got to go, like, download one of those meditation apps and just meditate on it for a while and understand what possessed you to buy that headband, or if it was one that was bought when you were 14, understand why you put it back on your head and you're in public with it. But either way, the logos are too much. I mean, you get a nice Nike shorts, Nike shirt. It's fresh. It's fresh. Come on. Let's clean up a little bit. Let's fucking clean up a little bit, okay? So, listen, I wanted to talk about more stuff, but because I'm being very consistent and I'm releasing once a week, I want to kind of space some of the content, some ideas out, because then I'll just run out of content and it'll be a disaster. And and the algorithm likes consistency. So I'm gonna cut this short. Actually, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Enjoy your weekend. All right. I'm gonna also try to chop up these clips with the AI stuff, but the issue with the AI like tools for podcasting and chopping up clips is that it's never gonna be as good as you. So now I understand when like comedians or filmmakers and writers are talking about how they're not worried about AI because sure, I can do a competent job at something, but at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the person who's really good at it, they're going to do it the way that they're meant to do it, and it's going to be the best possible product. So for example, I had some clips chopped up from AI, and like the titles are just so shitty. And like if you take an hour clip and then you chop it up into like, I don't know, 2-minute clips, it's not really chopping up the actual clips that you would have wanted. That like, so it is what it is. But let's end this podcast off again. More to talk about next week. Have a safe weekend. Comment, like, subscribe, and cheers, my friends. Have a good one. Bye-bye.